Hi, my name is Jorge Alvarez, and I'm going to talk about the Great Depression. The Great Depression was a global economic crisis that occurred between 1929 and the late 1930s. It was the most severe and longest lasting depression of the 20th century, with widespread effects on economies, businesses, and individuals. The Great Depression was caused by a combination of factors, including the stock market crash, the bank failures, the reduction in consumer spending, and the protectionist trade policies. The stock market crash was on October 29 in the year 1929, and this is also known as Black Tuesday, when the stock market crashed, wiping out billions of dollars in value and triggering a panic among investors. The bank failures is that people lost their savings in the stock market and they began withdrawing their money from banks, causing many banks to fail. The reduction in consumer spending was the unemployment rose. People had less money to spend, leading to a reduction in demand for goods and services, which in turn led to further job losses. And the protectionist trade policies where countries around the world began implementing protectionist trade policies which reduced international trade and worsened the depression. The Great Depression had a profound impact on the world economy, with unemployment rates, businesses collapsing, and poverty levels rising. Some of the consequences of the Great Depression included mass unemployment, economic decline, social unrest, and rise of fascism. The mass unemployment rates in the United States reached 25%, and in some countries it was even higher. The economic decline. Gross domestic product, or the GDP, fell by more than 10% in many countries, and it took years for the world economy to recover. The social unrest. The Great Depression led to widespread social unrest, with protests, strikes, and riots occurring in many countries. And finally, the rise of fascism. The Depression created the conditions that led to the rise of fascist regimes in Germany, Italy, and Japan. And finally, the comparative with an actual problem, with one of the most significant economic crises that have occurred in recent times. That was the global financial crisis of 2008 2009. The Great Depression and the global financial crisis of 2008 and 2009 were both severe economic crises that had significant consequences for the world economy. While there are differences between the two crises, there are also some similarities. For example, the financial crisis was caused by several factors, including the collapse of the housing market, subprime mortgage lending, and the widespread use of complex financial instruments. The crisis had severe consequences, including massive job losses, bankruptcies, and foreclosures, particularly in the United States. That means that both the Great Depression and the global financial crisis were caused by a combination of factors, including speculation, lack of regulation, and a buildup of debt. In the Great Depression, the stock market crash of 1929 was a significant trigger, while in the global financial crisis of 2009, the collapse of the housing market and the use of complex financial instruments were key factors. One significant difference between the two crises was the government's response. During the Great Depression, many governments were slow to respond, and there was a lack of international coordination to address the crisis. However, the response to the financial crisis was different from the Great Depression. Governments and central banks around the world took swift and coordinated action to stabilize the financial system and stimulate economic growth. For example, the US government enacted the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or the TARP, which provided financial assistance to banks and other financial institutions. Central banks around the world also took steps to increase liquidity in the financial system and lower interest rates. Additionally, international cooperation was a crucial factor in mitigating the impact of the financial crisis. The G20, a group of the world's largest economies, worked together to coordinate policies and provide financial assistance to struggling countries. In summary, while the Great Depression and the global financial crisis of 2008 and 2009 were both severe economic crises, the response to the later crisis was much more coordinated and swift. This helped prevent the crisis from becoming as prolonged and severe as the Great Depression, which had a lasting impact on the world economy for many years. And this was everything. I hope you enjoy and like the video, and thanks for your attention. Goodbye.